Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic released at a time where Star Wars fans were getting new movies, but at the same time weren't getting as much Star Wars content as they are in the modern era, like we are now. Now, putting myself back in the time frame of the game's release, it was truly an exciting time. I mean, while the game was pretty groundbreaking for the time, you're probably wondering if it's still something that holds up today. Well, whether you played the heck out of the game back in the day or are looking to dive into a great chapter of Star Wars, you're definitely in for a treat here. Let's get into it. Danny from the Famicast here. If you're new to the channel, please be sure to subscribe and turn on those notifications. Sign up in the comments down below, and we may read it out on our bi-weekly show called the Famicast. Today, though, we're taking a look at the Nintendo Switch version of Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic.
I was under the assumption that organic meatbags such as yourself enjoyed such forms of address.
Now, before we actually get into the meat and potatoes of this review, I just want to say that most of the footage you're seeing here is actually taken from the Switch capture, which captures at 720p, but I did do a couple of different captures with 1080p up to 60 frames a second, so that'll look a little bit better and smoother. But let's go ahead and get into it. Knights of the Old Republic takes place roughly 4,000 years before the events in the Skywalker saga. Now, in this whole galaxy and like what's going on, the Galactic Republic is under the threat of a Sith fleet led by the maniacal Darth Revan, and basically pushed to the brink of collapse. You take control of a Republic soldier, who will later become a Jedi, in an attempt to stop this dark menace from taking over the galaxy. Now, while you will come across a number of alien races, planets, and tropes found in classic Star Wars, characters set themselves apart and serve to make the game a memorable experience. The story here is fleshed out extremely well and offers plenty of room to explore and get into the lore from this particular era. The extensive dialogue choices are enough to make you want to come back for subsequent playthroughs just to see what can be done or said in various situations. Now, just to touch on the gameplay here a bit, Knights of the Republic is this menu-based RPG with kind of semi-action elements. Now, whenever you're facing off against opponents, the game kind of pauses itself by default and lets you choose your attack or action. Now, of course, you can cycle through targets and stuff like that and just generally take your time to make sure you're choosing the most effective action here. And, honestly, I think it's pretty easy to get used to, and the longer you play, you have more access to more weapons, force abilities, and more. There's really a lot of cool stuff that you can unlock the more that you play the game. Now, the really cool addition to this game was this morality gauge, and this basically represents both the light and dark side of the Force, and it's present throughout this entire experience. Now, this is determined by the actions that you make throughout the story. Now, in my most recent playthrough of the game for this review, I went ahead and tried a dark side run. Now, it really opens up things a lot when it comes to humorous situations. Not only that, but you can also see your character look more and more evil the further down the dark path that you go. And what they do this kind of visually here. You'll see that they'll grow paler and their eyes will turn yellow. Now, while this whole pale aspect of the Sith was kind of debunked a few years after the release of this game, Revenge of the Sith, kind of what happened to the Emperor there. I think it's a nice visual touch to make it absolutely clear that your character is a psychopath if you're going down this route.
Such acts can lead to the dark
Now,
side.
if you've never played this game before, well, God bless you, please do it, but Knights of the Old Republic is not as open-ended as something like Grand Theft Auto or something like that, but the freedom in dialogue and actions is really great here, as there really are numerous outcomes that can happen. Tons of side missions litter the planets that you visit too, so you can easily sink dozens and dozens of hours into the game without even seeing the end credits. The graphics and performance of Knights of the Old Republic on the Switch are actually quite nice. I mean, the game runs at 1080p and maintains a pretty consistent frame rate throughout the entire experience. While I think it does show its age a bit with some slightly low poly character models and environments, by today's standards, I think Asper did a great job at making things look good enough with this fresh HD coat of paint here. And I think one thing that you will notice are the somewhat low resolution cutscenes that appear at key points throughout the game. Being FMVs and not in-engine assets, I could kind of understand this, but it still stands out when compared to these smooth HD looking graphics that are found in the rest of the game. Now, things on the audio front here are pretty top-notch too. I mean, you'll hear familiar laser blasts, the hum and swing of lightsabers, familiar ship sounds, Wookiee grunts, huts, and other sounds that you've probably become accustomed to if you're a Star Wars fan. Now, not only this, but the game is actually entirely voice acted, featuring some pretty compelling performances that really tie the overall narrative together pretty well. Now, being a Japan-based channel, I always find it interesting to look at the Japan side of things, especially with Western-developed games. Now, for Knights of the Old Republic, its history in Japan is non-existent, as the game actually never saw an official release or localization, until just recently. Now, Asper did add a Japanese localization, written, to the game, basically in late January 2022 via a patch. Now, it wasn't until May 12th, 2022 that the game actually saw a very subdued release on the Japanese eShop. And this is awesome for Japanese gamers who may have never had the chance to try out the game in their own native language. My only complaint here is with the text itself in the game, which is a bit pixelated and kind of weird. You can kind of see that here on the screen. From the time of the initial patch to this May 2020 release here in Japan, this hasn't been fixed, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, anyways, it's cool that this is available for gamers in Japan. Knights of the Republic still holds up as an awesome Star Wars experience, and for me personally, it's one of my favorite games of all time, even all these years later. I think the story beats are great, offering a look at this time period in Star Wars that is pretty unique. Now, not only that, but the voice acting here also assists in pulling off a believable, intriguing story. Gameplay's fun, there are tons of things to customize, and performance is top-notch in this Switch version of the game. Now, simply put, whether you're plunging into the world of Knights of the Old Republic for the first time or the 20th, I think there's quite a lot to like in this port. It's definitely a must-have for any Star Wars fan looking to play an awesome RPG on the go or at home. As always, thank you guys so much for checking out this video. If you like what you see, please feel free to drop us a like. If you're new to the channel, please be sure to subscribe. We've got tons of podcasts, video reviews, looks at Japanese games, and a whole lot more. Again, this is Danny from the Famicast. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you later.
Retraction. Did I say that out loud? I apologize, Master. While you are a meatbag, I suppose I should not call you such.